Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. These podcasts are brought to you in part by our sponsors, who really truly are what make these podcasts possible every week. O'Fallon Nutrition is a company that I've worked with for over 15 years. They're independently owned and operated, located here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right off of Highway K and Mexico Road. I call this place the Whole Foods of St. Charles County, but even if you are not located on this side of the river, it is still worth the drive. I can remember working all the way down at Powerhouse and still sending people out to O'Fallon Nutrition for their supplements. They are more than a supplement company. You can get grass-fed beef, salad dressing, seasoning for your cooking, hair care products, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, essential oils, and all the vitamins and minerals that you can think of. If you're looking for clean, whole food nutrition, as well as home care, house care, skincare products, O'Fallon Nutrition is your place. You can take a look at them at o'fallonnutrition.com, or if you'd like to have something shipped, if you're listening to me from outside of St. Louis, you can certainly have items shipped. I know they do free shipping if it's an order over $50, and the phone number is 636-240-5283. Again, it's o'fallonnutrition.com. As well as if preparing your food on a weekly basis is your primary excuse for why you're not able to stay on a good, clean eating program, which is something that I hear very regularly from my clients, I would ask you to please take the time to check out Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com. They are a phenomenal place. We get our food from there during the week. They deliver to our Integrity location. They will deliver to your house. They also are just available for pickup. You can go to their Chesterfield location or their Kirkwood location and just pick up meals for the day, as well as just having them delivered right to your door. So if preparing your food is your main excuse for why you cannot stay on a healthy eating program, then I would suggest just stop by Pure Plates. Just try it. If you're trying to lower your blood pressure, you're trying to lower your cholesterol, you're trying to get your blood sugar down, try to do Pure Plates meals for a week and just see how different you feel. These are organic meals. They are gluten-free. If you need them to be, they can be dairy-free. They are soy-free. You're not taking any processed sugars or meat curing agents or preservatives. They really, truly believe in nutrient-dense meals that are just whole food nutrition. And I've had my clients, or I've made recommendations for my clients for years at Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com, or you can call them to ask questions at 636-778-3555. Again, remembering that they have a location in Chesterfield as well as in Kirkwood that you can just run by and pick up a meal today. Everyone always asks me where I get my meat from, and given that I really eat meat on a daily basis, typically beef primarily, my meat is very important to me. I have an autoimmune condition and I want grain-free, corn-free meat, and I just haven't found the confidence in stores in knowing that I'm getting 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I have searched and searched and searched for the right farm, and I have found the farm. It's fedfromthefarm.com, fed, F-E-D, from thefarm.com. These farmers are amazing. It's a family. They're here in Missouri, and they have the desire, just like I do, to see people well and to see people healthy, and they put a lot into what they do. It's such a wonderful family to support. They do offer 100% grass-finished, grass-fed, meaning that's it. A beef, and I get my ribeyes, I get my ground beef, my ground sirloin, I get my chuck roast. I mean, they basically have everything. They even have awesome jerky, but they also have eggs, they have chickens, and they have turkey. I'm planning on getting a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if you'd like lamb, they have that as well. But if you are in need of good quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or quality eggs, chicken, turkey, don't just settle for what you're getting at the local store. to go out on the internet and check out Fed from the Farm. That you can arrange a pickup or you can have it delivered to your home. And I can guarantee you're going to taste the difference. For me, my health actually depends on it. So I really thank God to have found such a great farmer. Fedfromthefarm.com. I hope it blesses you.
Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We got John and Debbie Morris in studio today with Dr. Joe Molesky with Integrity Health Systems.
Yes.
We're happy to be talking again this week. We're going to be talking about something that comes up. I feel like I've been having it come up quite a bit recently, actually. And that is that people have this assumption almost that our health and what we do to stay in shape, to stay fit, to stay well, comes easy, or that we don't have to try as much to remain healthy. And what we were talking about right before we got in studio was just a couple examples of that. And Dr. Joe, you were telling us a little bit about what you've had to deal with your whole life. So why don't you explain that just a little bit, because I find that fascinating.
Yeah, so I have severe hemophilia, so that's where your blood doesn't clot, actually. So severe hemophilia, it mainly affects males, and like I said, you're born with the inability to clot. So what I have had to do since I was very young, I was diagnosed at 6 months old, I've had to do intravenous infusions 3 times a week to prevent bleeding episodes. So I can't essentially form a scab, and so it's a chronic condition. I've had shoulder surgeries. I've dealt with being ridiculed in grade school about my condition, and it's really uplifted me and made me want to do better for mankind itself. The kids that made fun of me and whatnot, that only provided fuel to make sure that I wasn't like that. And so I live with a chronic medical condition, a pretty severe one, to where I have to do intravenous infusions 3 times a week. And it's not just the bleeding part, it's I want to stay healthy. I want to keep weight off, because and Debbie can vouch with this, is any type of weight that you have, if I was an extra 30, 40, 50 pounds heavier, you're going to put a lot of wear and tear and stress on your joints. That's going to increase your bleeding episodes, increase your risk for arthritis. I already have arthritis in my shoulder, and so keeping a clean diet, keeping a healthy diet, staying away from unhealthy inflammatory foods is really key. And so, on the outside, it looks like I'm this doctor that's really healthy and everything like that, which I am, but I have to put effort into it. This is nothing that just comes like, oh, I just wake up and I'm going to eat Jack in the Box or McDonald's and walk in and feel great. No, I have to work at it. And Debbie, I'm sure, has to, coach her patients to say, hey, this is work. This doesn't come naturally. This is work.
I think the thing that I took from when we were discussing this that I wanted people to be aware of is what you said, is that this is something that you have to address 3 times a week. This isn't a once a month. This isn't a twice a year. This isn't a once a quarter scenario. This is something that you have to actively stay on top of. And so many people, they think that they're dealing with something that other people are not. And there's validity in that. Sure. I don't have to deal with what you just described. I don't have to take that on at all. But what I have to deal with is I have extreme lung issues. I was born with lungs that were deficient. My mom had to quit her full-time job, making good money, to stay at home with me to make sure my lungs wouldn't collapse, because they would. And I had to go to the hospital, have them reinflated. At one point I was declared dead, and then they were able to get them reinflated and bring me back, get my heart beat back. So my lungs have been weak my entire life. Every time I exercise, every time I work out, every time I go to do anything that's going to increase, my cardiovascular system's going to work, I get taxed easier than someone that is quote unquote equally as athletic as me because of the deficit of my lungs. So I say this to say, people will see me and they'll say, oh, you're a big, strong guy, you own a gym, must be nice to always be motivated to lift, blah, 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 blah. It's not the case. You know, I have to work just as hard to want to lift, first off. You know, I enjoy the result more than the process myself. And then second off, my lungs don't want me to be as athletic as I want to be. And so there's a battle in that. You know, and then, you know, Deb, talk a little bit. I know we've talked a little bit in the past about your scenario, but I just kind of want everybody to hear, we're not saying these things to make you guys be like, oh, feel bad for them. That's not the case. We're saying these things, like Dr. Joe just told you, to empower you so that you understand that if you're dealing with your issue, sitting at home thinking that you can't overcome it, that the people that are willing and wanting to help you are actually doing and overcoming the same thing. So talk a little bit about your scenario, Deb, some of the stuff you deal with, and then if we have time at the end of this segment or next segment, I want to talk about kind of how we deal with the things that we deal with.
Yeah, I think there's just one thing to take into consideration that I'd like to stress on a little bit more than maybe some of the other topics is just what's the next thing to do. Like, I don't know that anyone looks at me and assumes that I don't have health problems, because I think everyone's pretty well aware of what I battle. But it's what do you have to do with those health problems? So I know a number of people that have diabetes, but they actually just take the medications. Like Joe is taking his medications. He's doing a great job. But Joe has to take the next step, and he has to eat an anti-inflammatory diet. He really needs to get the right vitamins and minerals in his body, because literally the wrong ones would actually cause more of an issue with his disease that he deals with. John, dealing with lungs. He is going to have to take the next step. He's going to have to stop eating dairy all the time, because dairy is going to create a buildup of mucus, and it's going to continually hold on to basically bacteria in his system, and so he's going to chronically fight and battle these challenging different infections. So yes, they both have weakness, they both have disease. They could just take the inhaler, they could just take the injections, right? And you can meet with a diabetic and they can just take the insulin, and they can just deal with the metformin and just take that. But if you don't take the next step, and that's what we want to talk about today, is the next step beyond just that caring for the disease. Of course, I have an autoimmune condition. There is no one medication that, after now, over these years, over 30 doctors that I visited with, there isn't one medication that anyone can offer me. There isn't even 10 medications that anyone can offer me. They don't really know of medications that they can give me to help me. So I've had to seek out alternative modalities to try to find relief and healing in my body. Now, one thing that I can say is that people are challenged by wanting to make the commitment to drive a little harder and focus a little stronger on healing. I have, Sunday off and I have Tuesday off. Those are my only days off. And I'm thankful to have those days. And on Tuesday, I wake up in the morning, I drive to Dr. Mike Shainwolder's office, I get an ozone treatment, and I get a vitamin C treatment. From there, I drive to Dr. Anna Bone's office. I get a homeopathic, basically overall immune treatment from her, where she does muscle testing, she does applied kinesiology, she treats me with homeopathics, and then from there, I drive over to Dr. Alex Chin and I get acupuncture as well as a traditional Chinese medicine assessment, and I walk out with a bag of herbs that I drink every day. And then on my way home, I hit a lymphatic massage between a person that does it with a machine and then a person that does it by hand. So I switch back and forth. That's my day off. There are so many days that I'm like, I wish I could just go to the Pottery Barn and shop for pumpkins today. I wish I could just sit and drink a latte in my kitchen. I wish I could sit around and make banana nut bread, right?
She makes good lattes, though.
I wish I could hang out with my husband and my kids. But I'm committed to that day because I know that it's going to help take things a step further and bring healing. It's that next step that's really going to take a person to a next level with their health and food, supplementation, the right type of doctors, the right type of coaches, the right type of trainers. All of this is a collection that formulates the possibility for further healing, but you have to be willing to take it a step further. You cannot be stagnant. You cannot say, well, I just don't have time for that. It's just too overwhelming. I just don't feel like I can get to the nitty gritty nuts and bolts of that. I've just got too many other things going on. Well, then you have to basically accept the fact that you may be walking on crutches. You have to accept the fact that you're going to be on steroids every month. And I would have to accept the fact that I would literally still be laying in a bed because I wouldn't be able to function if I didn't do the extras.
I think the thing, like you're saying about making the next step, is so many people want to talk about what they deserve, and what they deserve is a day off. What they deserve is to have their glass of wine. What they deserve is, it's this entitlement idea, and you actually are entitled to something. You're entitled to be as well as you can possibly be, and sometimes that's going to require more work than you actually want to put in. So you're thinking,
like most times,
yeah. So you're thinking, man, I want to lose a few pounds, and that's the most basic skin level, right? We're not even talking about health at that point, but you're not willing to give up the food that's causing you to keep that weight on you. That's going to be a problem. Deb, why don't you walk us out, and then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this.
For more information on a 6-month nutrition program with myself, or 6 months worth of nutrition and concierge medicine with Dr. Joe Molesky, you can give us a call at 636-299-2208, or to schedule a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers at Integrity Training Systems. You can take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris in studio with Dr. Joe Molesky, Integrity Health Systems. We were just talking in the last segment a lot about taking the time to just make sure that you get yourself as well as you can be. And most people want to be well. I don't know many people that walk around and say, man, I just wish I felt more crappy than I feel right now. Most people want something, whether it be to lose a little bit of weight, whether it be to sleep a little bit better, whether it be to get rid of an actual serious disease or condition. But the thing is, a lot of times there's work required in that. And if you're not willing to put that work in, you can't expect to see a change or to see a result. And I'm guilty of this. I mean, I think at the root of it, none of us really want to have to work towards something that we see someone else, we think, not have to work for. So I, just like Debbie said in the last segment, our days off are Sunday and Tuesday. My Tuesday as well is spent a lot of times going to doctors, getting treatments done. I am a hermit. I like staying in my house. So I like to have a day where it's like I'm not going anywhere. And it's very easy for me to be like, well, I'm just not going to do it today. I'm just going to stay at home. But the problem is then accumulatively over the next few weeks, I'm not going to be okay. I deal with lung issues. I deal with muscular issues. I deal with pain and joint issues. I have arthritis. I've damaged my spine. There's treatments I have to do to keep myself functioning. And if I'm putting myself in a position where I talk about not having the time to do it, then I'm not going to get better.
Yeah, and I get a lot of patients that will say, oh, well, this is great. I have diabetes or high blood pressure. This is great that I'm on some medicines. I'm going to get better. And that's fine. I think there is evidence-based medicine that, medicines do work. That's fine. But if you don't take initiative in your health and realize that, hey, you were diagnosed at age 45. What does 65 look like? What does 55 look like? And so what we offer here at Integrity Health Systems is that next level to where, when you're 55, or let's say if you're diagnosed at 45, we don't want to see you another day with this diagnosis. And some of these diagnoses that you're living with are reversible.
Absolutely.
And you have to take the initiative now to realize that you're not going to live with a chronic condition. One of the things that living with the bleeding disorder, granted, it's not reversible, it's genetic. But I didn't want to be that kid in grade school, high school, med school that was saying, you know what, I have this chronic condition and my arm hurts, I can't write, I can't go to school. No. I don't. I did not want to have that notion that, oh, you have a severe bleeding disorder. We're gonna put you on this team of disabled. No. I wanted to be empowered, and I wanted to show that, hey, even with living with a chronic condition, I can still make it. And you're not going to tell me no. And I think that's the mind frame that we have to have with our health is, hey, I know I got a few extra pounds and I know I'm on these meds, but I'm not going to take no. I'm not going to be disabled. And I'm going to be willing to take this journey, not just, oh, I had a doctor give me meds and this is how it is, but take the journey to where I'm investing in my health. I'm going to take the time to prepare my meals. I'm going to take the time to schedule a meeting with Debbie and Dr. Joe. I'm going to schedule time because I can tell you, folks, your disease will take your time. If you don't pay attention to your health, it will take your time, whether it's 5 years, 2 years, or 10 years. There's going to be that time where it's like, oh my God, now I have a heart attack. Now I have decreased blood flow in my leg because the diabetes has screwed up my peripheral vasculature. I'm having mini strokes. I'm having TIAs. It will take your time. It's just a matter of time. So I think investing in your health, regardless of what condition you have, is really important, and it starts with your diet.
Well, I don't know if you guys have seen the, I think it was a commercial. I don't know what it was for. It's really long. It's like a 4-minute commercial. I'm sure it was like an NFL mid-break deal, but it's an elderly guy, and he walks out to a shed behind his house, and he starts rummaging around, and then it blips to the next day. He rummages around, he finds a kettlebell. And then blips to the next day, and then he's out of breath. I mean, he's winded trying to do this stuff. And the third day, he goes out, and he bends down, he goes to pick up the kettlebell, and he's like, and doesn't even tip. All right. And so then we get this progress of these days where he keeps going out. His neighbor's watching him, thinks it's like really weird. What's he doing? And then he starts coming out in a jumpsuit. And so then finally one day he picks it up, and the next day he's got up to his legs. And so then we see this progression, and all of a sudden he's swinging this kettlebell through the air one day, and it's Christmas time. And so it shows he goes over to someone's house, which you're led to believe is probably his children's house. And he gets there, and he has this tree, or this star for the top of a tree. And so he's holding this star, and in runs this little, probably 3-4-year-old little girl, and he hands this little girl this star. Okay, and when she takes it from him, he bends down, grabs her by under her arms, picks her up, and holds her so that she can put the tree on top of the star. And all it says afterwards is, "What are you training for?"
Right.
And so my thing is, and I get almost chills even telling that story. You have to watch the video, because my thing is, when you're sitting around thinking about how you wish you felt better, you may be robbing yourself not only of that time, Dr. Joe, like you're saying, but of those years. You might not even live long enough to do that. And so it's like, you're going to take 10 minutes now to think about meal prep. You're going to take 20 minutes tomorrow to do some cardio. You're going to take 30 minutes a week and just figure out how to discipline yourself to be healthy so that you can have an extra 10 years. Sign me up. But we're so stuck in the moment and how we don't feel like doing what we have to do to be well that we don't realize we're actually taking our wellness away from ourselves.
And I'll say one thing is, regardless of whether you have diabetes, high blood pressure, or overweight, I personally think mentally there's so many things that you can see in the media, on social media, at the grocery store. I think it's almost would be beneficial just to have a couple meetings with Debbie, even if you are healthy or you think you're healthy.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that think they're healthy, they're thin, they think they're doing on the right diet, and they're not.
Yeah, you're not living your best life.
No.
And on the inside.
And I think just to get that, my wife has done, Debbie's course, and I'm a big believer of what Debbie has to offer, just because it transforms of how you're thinking when it comes to food and what real health looks like. Right. So don't think like, oh, I'm fine. Well, you might not be fine.
Right. Well, when we created Integrity, and started the Integrity Training Systems brand, our motto was train, to live. And what that means is you're training to be able to live. You're training to be able to live your best life, your fullest life, the most optimal health life that you can achieve. And so train for that. And that looks different for every person. You know, I might be standing on my no incline treadmill at just a walking pace because at one point I had to be carried into the church to get baptized because I couldn't walk.
Yep.
And then I may be right next to a person that's on a 30 incline climbing and about ready to start running. We all have something different that we're training for, but the key is that we're training and we have a vision in front of us of what we want and what we want to achieve. And I feel like at Integrity, that's what we help you do. We help you to find that vision. We help you to really seek the path for that vision, and then we sit there and we get into that mission with you and until you accomplish it. For more information on a 6-month nutrition program with myself, or for information on a 6-month nutrition program attached with 6 months worth of concierge medicine with Dr. Joe, we would be more than happy to explain and talk to you about what we have to offer at 636-299-2208, or take a look at us at integritytrainingsystems.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris in studio with Dr. Joe Molesky. We're here at Integrity Health Systems just talking about kind of what it takes to be healthy and how the people that you may assume have their health have it easily, and that we are working as diligently and as difficultly and as hardly as you need to remain healthy every day. And one thing we were talking about on the break is that I have actually had people tell me before that they wished they had an autoimmune condition like Debbie so that they would eat cleaner. They would be healthier because they had to. Yeah. You know, it's a have to instead of a I want to. And I'm just going to come out and say it. This is absolutely nonsensical. And one of the clients that told me this at one point in time, and she wouldn't even mind me telling this on the radio, is she told me that, and she was kind of half joking, but I was like, you realize how insane that sounds, right? Because you don't eat what you're supposed to right now, and you already feel like crap. You know, it's like you're here right now not feeling well, talking about all of the problems you have going on, and then telling me you wish you had something that caused problems so that you would eat right. You already have them, right? And so that's the problem. It's like if you're not going to make a point to take the time in your day to be healthy, then it doesn't matter what spectrum you're on, one end or the other, how poor your health is. If you're not going to take the time to change it, it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to that statistic. 90% of us have damaging blood sugar spikes, and we don't even know it, based on what the American diet is. And so, you know, what I do on the daily is, you know, I wake up, I prepare a shake. Now, the shake that I have has a protein powder, some L-glutamine, and it has, I use some raspberries. They have a low fructose quantity, and I also use a little bit of unsweetened almond milk. That's what I have in the morning. Some days I do intermittent fasting, but I use that. And then I also throw some pomegranate powder made by Navitas that you can get it, you know, you can get it for like $15, $20 at Whole Foods. The pomegranate, like I spoke in previous segment, has a lot of, you know, phytonutrients that's going to aid in the gut bacteria, and you know, having, you know, a healthy gut is very important with inflammation. The L-glutamine, it essentially helps with the gut lining. So I do this shake, and that gets me off to the races. You know, I'm not starting my day with a Starbucks, you know, 60-gram sugar latte. I can't do that. Have I ever done that? Yes. When I wasn't educated about my health, or I just didn't know it. It wasn't on purpose. This is where I'm getting at. A lot of people should just, even just having a 2-session or 3-session with Debbie or myself, you really, even if you're healthy, you or think you're healthy, you get this next level education. You're like, oh my God, if I was eating like this or these daily habits, there could be 10 years from now or even 5, I become pre-diabetic. I mean, Yeah.
I think the main thing with that, Dr. Joe, that I find is what you're getting onto the edge of here is ignorance. And,
Correct.
And what that is people just don't know. And because our world is so designed for people to accept feeling like crap, how many times a day do you hear as a doctor? I mean, I know I hear it. Well, that's just what it feels like to get older. I mean, why are people saying that before they're 110? Okay,
Yeah.
it's like what age does it become acceptable to say this is what it feels like to get older? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, when I had my heart attack, I was 26. So in my early 20s, because of arthritis, because of pain, because of injuries I had accrued, because of literally getting winded going upstairs because I was 100 pounds overweight, which led ultimately to a heart attack, I said to myself, well, this is just what it feels like to get older. You don't even know because everybody's saying the same thing. Everybody around you is talking about how tired they are. Everyone around you is talking about how they don't sleep either. Everyone around you is talking about how much their joints hurt too. But if you're not actually getting to the root of the issue and finding out, like, why do my joints hurt? Well, John's joints hurt because he has arthritis. John has arthritis because he was a cage fighter. So his joints have taken a lot of damage. Well, guess what? When John eats an anti-inflammatory diet, John's arthritis hurts 5% as much as it does when he doesn't. That I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I was walking around with all this pain, and I only have to walk around with 5% of it. And I want to make a point for everyone listening, for you guys to listen to what Dr. Joe said was in his shake. And this is where food becomes so important. Like he's saying, Debbie's nutrition program, what he's offering you through Concierge Medicine, what they do together. I'm their number one client. I'm literally the walking example of how this works. What I'm here to say is, there's a difference between saying I start my day with a shake and I start my day with the shake that Dr. Joe just described. If you're going to Smoothie King, if you're just picking something up in Dierberg's that's in a can, if you're just starting it and you're not actually looking at the individualization of the ingredients as well as the micronutrients that you're receiving, what are you feeding yourself with?
And you have to really try to factor in how and when are you feeding yourself. When you're feeding yourself, like Dr. Joe is having a well-balanced shake. He's not just putting 5 different types of fruits in there. He's not using a juice. He's adding a quality fat source to it. So it has protein, it has carbohydrates, but it also has a fat source. So it's all very well balanced. If we're not looking for something to balance us, then you're going to create an imbalance. We also have to space out what we're doing as well. So making sure that we're not just eating all throughout the day or eating whenever we have this sensation of hunger. Oh, I'm hungry, but I'm craving. The word craving sometimes makes me cringe because it makes me feel like we're just such a society committed to feeding our flesh and feeding our emotional desires that we have literally basically discarded the notion that we should remain disciplined and to some extent somewhat convicted about the choices that we make for our body and recognizing that it's going to impact the way we're going to feel for the rest of our life if we keep saying, I will fulfill this craving every time I have one.
Well, and it's interesting because I'm sitting here right now and I am not hungry at all, but I could eat an ice cream sandwich.
Right.
You know, and so this is what I'm saying is it's like, you know, that craving or that desire, like, guys, like that isn't actual need and like a necessity for the sustaining of your life.
Right.
You know, that's something that's like I can choose to have that, but I'm instead gonna choose, even though it doesn't taste as good in my mouth, I'm gonna choose to just feel okay tonight.
There's been multiple lives that I've watched change, and one of the biggest steps we took was to just say, these are the times a day you need to eat.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I understand that it might be a half hour off here or half hour off there, but do not eat in between the meals. If we set up a meal for 6 a.m., please do not eat again until 9. If we eat at 9, please do not eat again until 12. Stop. What happens is at 6 a.m., we build your blood sugar, and because, just like Dr. Joe's shake, we make it very well balanced, it's going to naturally start to fall very neutrally, nothing extreme. But as it starts to fall, an hour and a half later after Dr. Joe has his shake, if he goes and grabs a couple crackers or a couple cookies or a couple of of this or a couple of that, even if it's healthy food, it builds right back up again. And so within an hour and a half of having had something to eat, it builds right back up again. So now, before we know it, our new median becomes higher than what it should be. And that's how a person can become insulin resistant, even on healthy food.
That's what I wanted to hone in on that you were saying is this is the kind of stuff that Dr. Joe is talking about, where you think you're being healthy, but you might be uninformed. Listen to what she just said. She's not talking about just grabbing a cookie when you don't need one. She's talking about
Even
eating a meal when you don't need it.
Almonds.
You know, and everybody is different. I'm going to eat different than Debbie. Debbie's going to eat different than Dr. Joe, and Dr. Joe is going to eat different than me. I mean, we're all going to have different rhythms on that and what we need to be bringing in.
We had a client, I met with a client last week, and man, she had just such an amazing spirit, and I am believing God for just a complete turnaround in her body. I mean, just total restoration. But I told her, like, the first week is really going to be tough on you because you're battling several different diseases here, okay? You have a lot of things going on. So what happens is the gut becomes so unhealthy, right? It's so full of bacteria, it's so full of yeast, it's so full of parasites that when we first try to eliminate certain foods and we actually put a person in a position to where they have to take that 3-hour window between meals, you are going to know it within an hour and a half that, like, holy cow, I'm starving whatever is alive in my gut, and I'm craving. Okay, here's where we have to do. This is like, now you're going out to the wilderness, okay? You're basically saying, Lord, be with me for the next hour and a half. I can make it through this next hour and a half. I've got to starve what is alive and what is screaming at me in my gut. I have to put it to death. And if I can make it through that 3-hour window, I stand the chance of actually producing healing in my body.
Sure.
Now we eat at that 3-hour window. Let's try to go another 3 hours. Every opportunity for that minimal fast is an opportunity for healing in the body. Instead of just feeding and feeding and feeding, we really need to give it a chance to actually work. And it needs to be balanced when you do feed it.
And part of that too is, you know, John has said this before in one of the previous segments was, throughout the years, you're taught as a young kid, hey, good job, here's this brownie, here's this.
Right.
And so you're looking at years of this need to eat or craving.
Correct.
And so it's not going to be easy.
Right.
So get prepared. I know that for me, the first 14 days when I started my glucose monitor, it was like, okay, I see this sugar spikes. I don't want to do this, but I'm hungry. What do I do? So there's going to be, it could even be a month or two before you get it.
I think what I have come to the realization of, and I preach to people, is, you know, when we talk about our health, we talk about health, mind, body, and spirit. And I think it's really hard to have one of those be in the tank and keep the other two high. And so what happens is when you're talking about the conditioning of consumption of things like a brownie or what you've been conditioned to, stress eating or emotional eating, we're conditioned to see that as an acceptable medication for an illness. And the illness is just not being okay. So think about that for a second. What if we just threw a statin at everybody that just quote unquote wasn't okay? Oh, your toe hurts? Here's a statin. Your eye hurts? Here's a statin. Like, no matter what, it's the same thing. Well, food is treated that way. We had a bad day at work. Why don't you go ahead and stop at Dairy Queen and get an ice cream cake? I ate an entire one of those by myself one time after a bad day of law enforcement, and it was acceptable. You know, you got a promotion at work. Why don't you have some ice cream?
That same with alcohol too.
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
Have a drink.
So that's the thing, is it's like, so not only, okay, so mind, body, spirit. So now we're dealing with the spiritual aspect. The spiritual aspect is that, well, it's to raise my spirits. It's in good spirits. It's to keep me, it's because I deserve this. I need this. So then the mental aspect is we get ourselves depressed, we get ourselves anxious, and then we actually start chasing a chemistry to change the way our mind is working.
Yeah, you want the dopamine.
And so now we're not even talking about the body yet, where we actually have a condition where these cravings Debbie's talking about, maybe it's just a craving physically because our stomach is recognizing once you bring something in, but take a minute to listen to what she said. You are killing off something in your stomach. Does that not freak you out? I think of like little aliens crawling around my stomach like, feed me. Like, that's what's happening, guys. So when you get the migraine, that sensory overload of going off in your head and your stomach's twisting knots and you ate an hour ago, I promise you're not starving to death. That is something inside of you starving, and that's freaky. You got to get that crap out of there, because if you don't, you're never actually going to get better, but you're going to feel like crap while that process is occurring.
And I really feel like, you have to understand that, of course, you don't want to be hungry, and there's typically a reason for the hunger. And we can identify that, and we can, Dr. Joe can take a look at your insulin patterns. I can take a look at how well balanced your meals are. But there are also some seasons where for the next 3 days, you have to accept there could be some hunger, and you have to put yourself in a position to where you're willing to fight tooth and nail, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, and you get through past those 3 days, and now you're on a healing pattern. That's what we want to help you with. You're not alone. We will guide you through the process. I have a 6-month nutrition program, and I'm also connecting with Dr. Joe Molesky, and he is offering 6 months worth of concierge medicine, and we would be more than happy to explain all that we are offering to you if you'd like to give us a call at 636-299-2208 or take a look at us at integritytrainingsystems.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. John and Debbie Morris in studio with Dr. Joe Molesky, Integrity Health Systems here. It's been a very interesting show so far. We've just talked a lot about what it takes to be healthy, and that you may be walking around thinking that you've got it worse than other people trying to do the same thing, and maybe you do. But those people probably have something going on that you're not aware of. And just before we went to break, Debbie mentioned something about getting through that 3-day, sometimes 5-day, sometimes 7-day, maybe 1 day, whatever it is, process or period of potentially feeling worse than you have been feeling while some of this stuff dies off in your gut, while some of this stuff dies off in your body. And, a lot of people that listen already know my story. If this is your first time listening to us, first off, welcome. But secondly, my story is such that I came to Debbie as like a worst case scenario. Like, it's one of those deals where if she can fix me, we can fix anybody. And I was a raging alcoholic. I was addicted to painkillers. I was addicted to mood stabilizers, and I walked around completely unhealthy. I ate and drank pure garbage on top of the alcohol I consumed every day, and I was 100 pounds overweight. I had a heart attack. So when I met with her and she lined out what it is exactly that I needed to do, I went home and did it the worst possible way that I could, and that was cold turkey with no assistance. It should have killed me. Someone in my situation, if you guys are listening and you're looking to change your life and you're an addict and you have something like this going on, reach out to us. We can help you, and there's a process to get you off of this stuff, okay? Not just the food. But I didn't do it like that because I'm an all or nothing guy, and thank God I survived it. But I had almost a week. It was 4 days where I felt like I was dying. I'm talking retching, bathroom issues, cold shivers, shaking on the ground, withdrawals from the medications, withdrawals from the alcohol. I dumped and flushed everything. And I remember I had this moment where I walked out onto my front porch. I was getting ready to go to work. I had to call in sick to work for 2 days. I was a police officer. And I remember walking out. I had my uniform on, and I'm standing on the front porch, and I looked up at the sky, and I said, wow, that's a really pretty cloud. And I had this almost euphoric moment because, first off, if you know me or you know anything about me or if you've ever seen me, I don't look at the clouds ever. And secondly, I've definitely never called one pretty. That's just not me. Like, oh, that's a pretty cloud. But I did it. And so what happened is I was forced into this situation where I acknowledged something is different. I feel different. I actually am well enough to proverbially stop and smell the roses. I had been walking around feeling like such garbage, I wasn't even able to look at the clouds. And so for the first time I walked out and I had that sense of clarity. So I hit the ground running after that, and I've been on this health journey ever since. The point of that story is to tell you, if you expect to have spent 20, 30, 40, 50, however old you are, years of your life, not being too great to your body, and you think that you're going to get on the path to increasing your health and being more well, and that in 24 to 96 hours, you're just going to feel as good as you're capable of feeling, you are wrong. And there's going to be a process to it. And that's what we're here to do, is help you guys through that.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is my wife signed up with Debbie, and this is before, the radio show, before any of this. I went and actually sat in on one of the consultations, and it started instantly getting my brain to think like, okay, I'm a physician. I've been through medical school, but what's this about?
Right.
And so then I started, with our family, our 2 young daughters, myself, and we're like, we're gonna do Debbie's plan. Like, I wanted to do it.
It's awesome.
She brought a cookbook home. A cookbook. We started getting involved in our health, and just that snowball effect of like being more aware of your health was awesome. And I lost 15, 20 pounds. I felt great. It took me a while to start feeling better after that. And then with the glucose monitoring, that only further amplified the feelings that I was having as far as just feeling good. And so just that little 20, 30 minute consult that I sat in with my wife, with Debbie, it just started getting me thinking about my health. And I started taking things out of my diet, putting this in, and then Debbie's even recommended to my wife some books to read. That this is not just about food, guys. This is about your life. It's about getting your brain right, getting your anxiety, your depression, or even just getting you feeling good about yourself. You should feel amazing, and we're providing a lot of education here.
Right, and that's what we're here to do. I mean, Debbie and Dr. Joe's program is to provide education while leading you through the decision-making process. So it's twofold. It's one, they're going to get you towards your goal. They're going to help you be healthier. But then the second part of that is they're going to teach you why, so that when the day comes that you move on from doing our program, you're not left with this sense of, oh gosh, I have no idea why I'm doing what I'm doing or how I'm doing it or what it's for. You know exactly why, and you know exactly what it's for. And you've been taught how to condition yourself, the patterns, not just of what to eat, but the disciplines, the way to get around the poor decision making to continue to move forward. And that's where a lot of people go wrong, is there's a lot of actually truthful information out there, but it might not work for you. It might not be truthful for you and for your situation.
I think you just have to really be trying to put yourself in a mindset of, what can I do every day to nourish my body? How am I nourishing my children? Why in the world do we have a mindset that we could create some type of imbalance in our children just by not allowing them to have junk food, when at the end of the day we should be on fire for making sure that our children are building a quality and stable immune system now with the choices that they're making. And unfortunately, our foods could literally destroy their immune system before they even turn into an adult. So at the end of the day, what can we do to nourish our body? Are we looking at a label and not able to pronounce the food that we're eating? Why are we eating that then? How balanced are our nutrients? If we're not feeling balanced throughout the day, if our energy is not remaining stable, if our mood is not remaining stable, if we don't feel like we are living at an optimal level, and if we're continuously exhausted, always imbalanced, always having gut issues, you're showing signs and signals that you're out of balance and you need someone to sort of, lasso you up and try to get you in balance. There are very simple signs that your body needs to detox. I mean, acne is a sign. Skin rashes are a sign. Just bloating is a sign. Overall, just continuous fatigue is a sign. Muscle acidity, achiness is a sign. These are all signs that the body needs to detox. Basic things that we just buy a cream for, or that we kind of discard, or we take an antacid for. For the first 2 weeks of my daughter's 5th grade year, she was sent to not the principal, thankfully, to the nurse's office 4 times, and they just gave her a Tums every time because there is no answer. They don't know what's wrong with her, but yet the classroom has no problem giving Skittles. They have no problem giving sweet tarts. They have no problem making it to where she can have a brownie or a cookie literally every other day. And at the end of the day, she has infection in her gut, she has bacteria in her gut, and at some point her immune system will shut down, and it'll happen before she's even 20 years old if people don't go to bat to try to correct this and get her on the right food. We all have something that we can genuinely take valuable steps forward to try to improve in our body, and it starts with how are you nourishing it.
Yeah. And real quick, when Debbie says infection, when we talk about infection, in your gut, you can have a thing called dysbiosis. So what I mean by that is an imbalance of bacteria in your gut. And you're going to have bad bacteria that can cause, irritable bowel, that can cause you to have bloating. And then you could have good bacteria that are kind of suppressed because you don't have the right food in your diet, and you don't have those phytonutrients from those leafy green vegetables, those bright colorful fruits or bright colorful vegetables. You don't have the right substrate to feed these bacteria in order for them to grow and actually have a healthy gut. So that's what we're talking about, and I think it's super important to really take a look at what you're consuming and your kids are consuming, because this is only going to cause downstream effects of fatigue, like Debbie was talking about, and just irritability. And I think you look at your kids and they throw a tantrum and you're like, oh, here's a sweet tart, or here's like a popsicle, and then they're like not sleeping at night, and you're like, well, wait a minute, food is medicine, like even for our little ones.
Right, and you have to just go through almost like the struggle. Yes, there will even be a withdrawal from them. They may they may have a little bit of an issue with it, but you've got to get them through it.
And it's going to hurt.
Worth it.
It's going to hurt to watch your kid go through that, because if you're a good parent, you're going to have empathy for them, and you're going to feel bad, like, oh gosh, am I doing that to them? But you're not. And what I challenge you to think of here as we wrap up is, as a parent, if your child is struggling and you find yourself saying, well, I don't want them to miss out, I want them to have the cupcake, I want to refer you back to what Dr. Joe said. Eventually your illness will take your time. And so right now you're causing them to maybe miss out on the cupcake at their friend's birthday party, but what you're doing is setting them up so that they don't miss out on the back 20 years of their life.
For more information on a 6-month nutrition program with myself, or to couple it with 6 months worth of concierge medicine with Dr. Joe Molesky, you can give us a call at 636-299-2208, or for more information on a free personal fitness assessment with our personal trainers, you can take a look at us at integritytrainingsystems.com. Hi, my name is Debbie. I'm a mom, nutrition coach, and my husband and I own a gym. I'm also a baker. I bake healthy cookies, brownies, and muffins that are high in protein and low in sugar. And yes, they are gluten-free and dairy-free. Our daughter Sophie is our greatest inspiration, so we decided to name all of our baked goods after her. The idea for Sophie's cookies, brownies, and muffins came out of a real need to provide our daughter with a healthy snack. These healthy snacks make her more alert, balanced, and overall more joyful. We know that our baked goods are a better way to snack, and we want everyone to experience it. If you like snacking, then you will love our baked goods. Sophie's cookies, brownies, and muffins are for all ages. We don't want anyone to miss out on the benefits of our delicious and nutritious snacks. These are going fast. Order your very own Sophie's cookies, muffins, and brownies today.